So what's the odds of us going live on YouTube?
I'll let you know in a second. Looks like we're good.
All right.
Oh, okay. It's 6 o'clock.
Okay, this is the January 11th, 2023 meeting of the Village of Board of Trustees. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Seated. Sarah, you want to do a roll call for the trustees?
Sure. Mayor Collocola?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Contino?
Here.
Trustee Herzog?
Here.
Trustee Doro?
Here.
Trustee Murphy?
Here.
Okay, thank you. For those at home, if you want to follow the charts that we'll be presenting this today, you just go to the village website, and there's a bar called Agendas and Minutes. Click on that, and then you click on Meeting Docs. Is the next bar you'll see. And then you'll see all the charts that we're going through today. Now to the trustees, Sarah has provided us each a conflict of interest form. I'd like you to sign that. Designate any specific conflicts that you might want to recognize, and either give them to me at the end of the meeting or give them to Sarah sometime in the future so she can categorize those. Also, I set down both the summary of the invoices that you can sign and review. Otherwise, you can look at the details in the packages back in the office. And I also gave you all the list, the LoSAP list, for you to review and to sign. I don't know if it's reviewed already, but any questions about that? I know, Pat, you haven't seen this before. Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Peter?
Yep.
Okay. So if you all sign that today and give it to Ted, just so we can get the process going. Right, Ted, you want it back today, if possible? The LoSAP list?
If possible, yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
All right, good. So Pat signs that and gives it to you, then we take care of that. Okay, administrative business. We have minutes from the last 4 meetings, going back to November 9th. You've already seen copies of it. Any questions about the latest version of the minutes that you saw from those meetings? Any questions or corrections?
Not for me. I think we're all set.
All set, Pat?
Yep.
Can I get a motion then to accept the minutes?
I'll make the motion.
And a second?
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any objections? Okay, thank you. All right, next we'll go to vouchers. Oh, you got the schedule for the, all right, before we go there. Sarah put together, I think with Karen, a proposed schedule for the roll-up of the budget that we'll be kicking off next month. We're doing it in the same fashion as last couple of years. We'll do water and sewer first, then we'll do a session for both police and fire, then a session for highway and front office. And then we'll have some interim follow-up meetings to roll things together towards a public hearing by the 5th of April. And we want to then approve the budget by the 12th of April, which is our regular monthly board meeting. Any issues, concerns with that schedule? Specific talking to the department heads, can you guys meet those schedules?
If that's the first Wednesday, I can't do the first. But I can make arrangements.
It's the first Wednesday, yeah.
And
That's no good for you.
First Wednesday, yeah.
Can we then switch, Bob, can we switch you to the first?
No, only kidding. To the what? What's that?
I'd like to switch you, so the schedule shows on, you would come present your budget on the 15th. Instead, I'm asking, can you move to the 1st of March?
Sure.
All right, good. So let's make that change. Okay, Ted, so you go on the 15th.
Sure.
You and Matt? All right. Okay, good. So with that, then we'll proceed along this path and starting off with Scott as we always do. Thanks for being first, Scott.
Yeah, my pleasure.
All right. Vouchers. Here's a total of the unpaid vouchers that we're looking to approve today. General fund $108,000, water fund $28,000, sewer, $29,000 for a total of $164,582. Any questions about the vouchers? Making a motion to accept the vouchers. And a second?
Aye.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Okay, I don't see Deirdre tonight, so we'll skip the legislature update. And Karen, you've done a mid-year report, so why don't you go ahead?
Okay. All right, good evening, Happy New Year.
Thank you.
This is a mid-year report that goes through December 31st. So in 2022, we had our challenges and as well as our successes. Last year's motto was having a local government that is stable, reactive, and progressive thinking brings a sense of security in these challenging times. So this year, it'll be necessary to add adaptability to achieve our objectives. The two definitions that come to mind are the quality of being able to adjust to new conditions and the capacity to be modified for a new use or purpose. As we reach mid-year, now's a good time to see where we are financially. This chart shows equipment, supplies, and services. The green dot is the budget, and the blue line is where we are at the 6-month period. The chart represents equipment and supplies. The general administrative departments are past their 50%, slightly past their 50% mark, and will need to monitor expenses for the rest of this fiscal year. The planning, building, and zoning departments do not seem to require many expenses, so you can barely see them on the chart there. The police, fire, and highway departments are hovering around the 50%, which is good. Employee benefits appear more than 50% because the retirement payment was made in December and it's not amortized out over the 12 months. As always, it's important to understand that there's still much winter to go in terms of snow removal and street maintenance, and 6 more months of expenses for all the departments.
Now, the general administration actuals being way over 50%. What's the reason for that? I know we early paid like the insurance
I think it's the workers' comp, the insurance, and
and the
the
medical.
well, the medical we pay monthly, but
Oh, is that monthly? Okay.
the insurances we pay upfront, so
Yeah.
they're
Okay.
included in there.
All right. Which is about $8,000, so that's enough to sway that percentage. Okay. So we expect the rate of spending for the general administration to be less in the second half.
Correct, and we'll keep an eye on that.
Yeah, okay, fine.
Do we have any large expenses coming up, like one-shot payments, a LoSAP payment, something else that would be coming up once a year as
The
opposed
LoSAP, when do we pay that?
I don't know off the top of my head, honestly.
Okay, well, I'll let you know, Mike.
Okay.
I'll let you know. I don't foresee anything. I don't think the bond payment was in the water, so we'll keep an eye on
Yeah, I recognize that. I think LoSAP is to go. Also is the cancer, fireman's cancer payment, that's to go.
it. Right, but that's in the budget.
That's all, those are all in the budget, right?
Right.
Yeah, okay. All right, fine.
So next we'll go into payroll and salaries. There are 26 pay periods. This chart represents 15 pay periods, or 58%, leaving 42 remaining for the fiscal year. Remaining in each department: general administrative 41%, planning, building, zoning 57%, police 57%, and highway 43%. General administrative is right near just slightly below it. The necessary to stay in budget. Planning, building, and zoning and police look good at this point. The highway department is close to staying within their budget, and it will be important to monitor scheduling of overtime. And again, kudos to all you department heads for responsible payroll budgets, because they really look good at this time. Revenue. This chart shows revenue received at the 6-month mark. Village taxes always look good as we received them in June. We were made whole in April. Unpaid taxes in November were sent to Dutchess County in the amount of $36,555 for re-levy. As last year was quite good for mortgage tax, we increased the budget, and this year it's not looking as lucrative. This is out of our control with what we get back from the county for mortgage tax. So what we can do is analyze trends and make the best estimates. So we'll have to monitor that as we get close to the end of the year to see what you want to do for next year. The fire contract with the town of Washington for fire protection will be paid in February. So you can see that nothing is paid in that line item, The court fees look good. Planning, building, and zoning departments are quiet. And other revenues include tower rental, department income, and interest earnings are all looking good. I mentioned we invested some of the tax savings and reserve accounts in New York Class, the New York Cooperative Liquid Asset Security System, and that in itself has exceeded the budget at this half-year mark.
Oh, by the way, when I looked at the operating expense report, if you add in what the town of Washington has to pay us, which is half in February and half in March, right, for both the fire contract as well as for the lease on the gym, we're $95,000 short of our full year revenue plan. In other words, we are in really good shape from the revenue.
Yeah, we are good. We are in good shape.
Yeah, even though you're showing that the franchise fee is a questionable thing, I think other things come into play, like rental fees, lease fees, things like that. I think we're in really good shape from a revenue point of view.
I mean, just getting all the taxes up front really helps.
Yeah.
But that's good, because then we can leave our investments in there. And
Right.
so water and sewer, not too many moving parts to water and sewer billing. The good news is that revenue is on target, if not slightly above. Until needed, the sewer department has invested $250,000 in New York Class investment pool, and we're enjoying a higher yield than traditional savings accounts, and we'll keep that in there, Scott, until you guys get your project done and let me know when you need to pay for that.
Yeah, so that's really kind of a pump station for the South Millbrook station, right? So that's why you see the overinflation of about $250,000 in that category.
And also, it's very liquid, like you can take out part of it. Like as we draw down, we can either take it out and do it that way, or we can withdraw the whole thing and put it in the capital fund and pay it. So
Okay, fine.
however the payments go for that.
What we need is the bid proposal so we can get this thing going. We got the money, we just need to get the proposal here. Actually, okay. All right.
Okay, so all funds and fund balance analysis. This chart shows the revenue in the gray line, the expenditures in the orange, and the budget is the blue line. In all funds, the revenue exceeds the expenses. We have completed the retaining wall, and the next big project will be the pump station. I always stress and point out that the year-to-date revenues and expenditures bring us through December 31st. These numbers will change monthly and bi-weekly as expenses are paid and revenue is received. The water and wastewater treatment plants and their collection and distribution systems are aging and require infrastructure, repairs and replacements. The board has been actively seeking grants and funding for these high-cost projects. So much has been accomplished and much has yet to be done. This is a team effort. The financial health of the village is good. However, it is a daily challenge with the ever-increasing costs of equipment, supplies, fuel, and electricity. In addition to cost, the availability of these items that we took for granted has become questionable. So even when we do go out to get pipe and supplies has become a bit of a challenge. So the next budget season, 23-24, will be a challenge. And with this, I return to the focus of this year's charge is adaptability, keeping an optimistic outlook, confidence, logical reasoning, setting realistic goals, time management, emotion regulation, accepting what you cannot control. So the mayor, board, and staff are committed to Millbrook's future growth and prosperity.
Okay, any questions? Yes.
Do we, not taking into account the $250,000 that we've got put aside, do I have any ballpark figure about where our reserves are now at this point out of the A fund in terms of monies that are not committed?
Are they in your
Like
treasurer's
what's
report?
left in the reserves?
The
It
balance
would
of-
be in the bank balance.
Is it in, I think it's in your treasurer's report.
It,
right?
yeah, you know the bank balances?
Right.
Yeah, they'll be listed in there.
Okay.
All the reserves are listed in there.
No, I think he's asking if the unrestricted fund balance has changed.
Oh,
And that's a hard question. You're talking about the unrestricted fund
Yeah,
balance,
okay,
right?
the unrestricted.
oh, the unrestricted
Yeah,
fund
so you
balance.
showed as of last June that we were like $450,000. I
Right.
think it's a hard question to answer at this stage
Um,
because you gotta go and look at unrestricted versus restricted. You really should go through the AUD process to get to that number, right?
Right. It's hard to, because, you know, we have the big, fire contract's a big revenue.
Right.
So, maybe as we get closer to the end of the year, we can kind of pull out and do an analysis of it and see where we're at.
But at this point, you're saying approximately 450,
Right,
give or take.
right.
Well, that's what it was as of last June. I think we're on a path now to actually grow that number, but I don't want to say what that's gonna be. Let's wait for the AUD to tell us.
So if we are able to get through this year and keep what we have invested, then that's going to increase our fund balance by
Right.
that amount of money.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I think if we're on track to keep the expenses down and the revenue going the way it is, then that 400 will grow.
Okay.
450, yes, right. Yes, we will. Okay, good. Any more questions? Anybody in the audience, any questions? Okay, thanks. Okay, let's go to fire and rescue. As I said to the department heads, we wanted to change the form of presentation such that the numbers which are here on the chart are available for everybody to see. And I'd like the department heads to speak more to any trends, anything interesting going on, any side, as opposed to just reading the numbers, because we can see the numbers and we can, decide based on there whether there's a question to be had. So with that as a forward, Ted, go ahead.
Numbers for December are up there. I noticed that the total for the month is actually 100, not 78. We're up.
Oh, yeah, okay. All right.
Arithmetic problem.
Any significant trends going on in terms of numbers?
We had a
calls?
decrease in the mutual aid going out for EMS in December, and also mutual aid received. I am attributing that in part to the fact that several contract holders changed amongst our mutual aid
Oh, really?
EMS, our mutual aid EMS. We went to Pleasant Valley a number of times in December because they were changing providers.
Was that right?
As of January 1st, and I think the previous provider kind of let things slide a little
Well, that
bit.
was Mobile Life. So Mobile Life is no longer there.
Mobile Life's no longer providing service to Pleasant Valley.
Who's doing
They
it?
have Empress now.
Who? Oh, Empress?
Empress.
Okay.
And as a result of our ambulance being out so much, we did have 7 mutual aids received for December for EMS, and a number of those, 3 or 4 off the top of my head, were 2 calls in the district when our ambulance was out of the district on another call. So,
All right.
I'm hoping those 2 numbers diminish a little bit for January.
All right, fine. Any questions about Ted's report? Any update on the Cascade replacement?
Just 2 spoke the other day.
Yeah, okay. We received the insurance money,
Correct.
right?
Yes.
And
The
so
fill
you know
station
using
is
that
on
to-
order. That takes about, they said 6 to 8 weeks, and I think we're about 4.5 weeks in right now.
All right.
So hopefully around the end of January, we should see that.
All right, and the insurance money is going to cover the replacement of this
Yes.
that system.
And that's,
Very good. Okay. All right, Matt, any update?
Yeah, I received a quote from Vector Security in regards to the upgrade of the fire control panel and the installed 8 smoke detectors that need to be rewired and replaced, which comes to a total of $8,047. Since this is something that needs to get done and cannot wait, I am going to forego the upgrade of the windows this year to go ahead and do this.
Good call.
And then I will put the window project in for next year's budget.
All right. What was the expected cost of the windows?
Roughly 20 to 21,000.
All right. So this is not going to cover, this will be less than the cost of that windows.
Correct.
Okay.
And looking at what we have left in the repairs, maintenance, which is 21,000, so that will, to do both of them, I would be way over
Okay.
in cost.
All right. How's the other, how your overall expenses comparing? I guess what I'm afraid of, I don't want you to underspend your budget. See what I'm saying? So are there other things you've got going on that could be included with this upgrade to the security system?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I'd like you to go back and talk to us about that when you have a chance to think that through. You understand what I'm talking about, right?
Yes, so there's money not left over.
That's right. So just explain to the board, what happens is the town pays 85% of the fire and rescue budget. And it's important to me that the fire and rescue teams spend all that they have budgeted. Otherwise, then we need to talk to the town about a rebate, whatever. It's also important to me that they don't go over the budget, because whereas the town pays 85% of the expenses up to the budget level, the village pays 100% of all expenses incurred by fire and rescue beyond the budget. All right? So it's a fine line these guys got to walk, but I need them to be conforming to that kind of criteria as much as possible.
Right.
Right? Well, last year you were within 2,500 of it. That's okay for a $600,000 budget. That's fine. Or $700,000 budget. But that range we got to be really tight with the way that goes. Any questions about that?
No.
All right. Okay. Good. Anything else, Matt?
No.
We the sign's been up, and we said we were going to have a checkpoint after a month, talking about the intensity of the lighting of the sign after dark. The way it's set up is there's a setting so that when it turns dark, the intensity reduces by 90%. Is that correct?
That's the way we were explained to us. Yeah.
That's right. Right. There's a
Photo cell.
that determines based on light intensity when it reduces the light.
Correct.
Now, I don't know that it does 90%, but I do know that it decreases the intensity. So my question first to the board is, any questions or concerns about the sign lighting after dark? What we said was, if we were not happy with the level of intensity, then we would also talk about turning the sign off for the nighttime period. But myself, I don't see that there's that much of a difference. I think the intensity is quite low, and I think it doesn't really affect the nighttime vision at all. Any comments about that from the board?
I can't read the sign. The letters are so small. I have to drive like a snail to.
I've gotten a lot of complaints
Yeah, a couple of people
from the
mentioned that to me,
village
too.
that they can't see the sign.
The
Okay.
reason that it's like that right now is that I wanted to put the website on there, and it's a long URL, and so in order to fit it on one line, I had to make the letters smaller, because the alternative is it's going to scroll across, and that's a huge no-no. We can't have movement or change, so I won't display it that way again. We'll say.
So you can make,
Yeah, I'd just like to chime in. I think the letters are too small.
Yes, that's
You
what
can't see it.
that's what we're discussing.
so you can't make it larger?
I can. I have to get rid of the URL, so I wanted to leave that for a few weeks, and then
Oh, I see.
once
Okay,
once I
fine.
change it,
And I don't see anything wrong with the size of the sign. I think it works out fine, height
Yeah.
wise and everything else. I know there were a lot of discussion on that last
Okay.
meeting.
yeah, I'm
But I
still
think it looks fine
kind of
that way.
experimenting with how it's
It's
going
just your
to
lettering.
display different things.
Yeah, okay, fine.
So
All right, so you're still planning on that? Okay.
consider that a lesson learned. I won't try to display that again in
Yeah.
the same way.
All right, fine. Any questions or comments from the audience regarding the lighting at night? Okay. What we did discuss last time, lowering the sign. Are you still planning to lower the sign?
We
I
can
don't
look at
think you
it.
need to.
I think you do.
I think it looks fine like it is.
I don't agree.
I think
Well,
anyone I talk to in the village, I've asked them about that. They got no problem.
I asked
Well,
last time that the sign be lowered to where it was spec to be from the drawings that we had beforehand, and you guys agreed to that, right?
Yes, we will. We're going to look at that when the weather gets warmer.
Yeah, that's good.
I would
Fine.
ask for you to reserve judgment and let us see what we can do as far as some
I mean,
plantings
you
and
were
things
talking
around the
inches,
base.
Tim. I mean, come on.
No.
The top of
If you
the
were.
sign, the overall height of the sign is about 4.5, 5 inches taller than it was originally intended to be. again, because they hit shale when they tried to dig the holes. The reason that it's so high from the ground is that you asked us to reduce the size of the sign,
Yep.
the overall size of it, and so it's smaller, it's further, so there's more space below
But
it.
I think it needs to be closer to the ground based on what was
It's
reported.
it's fine.
We'll look at that.
Okay,
It'll grow on you.
no,
The
it
bushes,
hasn't yet.
the bushes will.
The bushes, there'll be trees.
That's what
There's
we had
nothing wrong
before.
with it, believe me.
Okay. No, the last time you guys agreed to lower the sign, I know I talked to Brian, you're looking into that, I appreciate that. I understand the winter, whatever, but I still think it needs to come down.
Worry about
Yes,
it.
we'll revisit that with the.
Okay, good.
And see what we can do.
All right, not anything else?
No.
All right, thanks. Okay, Officer Witt. Oops, what is this?
They want-
Oh, wait,
that's
wait,
a
wait,
year-end
oh, this is the,
No, this
year
is
to
an
date, I'm
annual,
sorry.
the total calls for the year.
All right,
Again, like you said, you don't want to go through the entire list of
No.
numbers. We are down about approximately 50 calls from last year. Last year we did about 1,005, I think. This year we're at 957.
that's still like an average of, like 3 calls a day. It
Correct.
just is really amazing, you know? So hats off to you guys for that. Any questions about the annual report? Well done. Okay, I'm sorry, Officer Witt.
This is our report for December of last year. The numbers are a little bit lower, but the activity in the village seems to correspond a lot when the school is open or closed. There's a lot less activity, and the school is closed for about a third of the month of December. But nothing really stood out for December. Few traffic tickets and parking tickets, but again, like I said, the activity in the village seems to correspond heavily with that.
Okay.
Then we have, any questions on December?
No? Okay. Well, this is for the year.
This is for 2022.
Mhm.
There are a total of 947 incidents, which is down a little bit from 21. But I think a lot of that has to do with about the 4 or 5 months we had staffing issues this year. So other than that, the biggest things that stick out for me is the assisting of the EMS calls and the assisting other agencies. Again, our traffic tickets and parking tickets were down a little bit for last year, and a lot of that has to do with the staffing issues we were having. But just overall for the year, the public service and the community policing aspects of our agency, I just like to highlight those other things beside the crime and speeding and parking violations. The officers have really stepped up in a lot of those areas. Any questions on 2022 numbers?
School checks you do throughout the year or just during the, when school's in session?
Just during while school's in
One
session.
session. And what do you do, like 2 a week or something, or?
I do one a day usually.
Oh, one a day?
One school per day.
Oh, I see. All right.
It depends if we have something else going on and we don't get to it, we don't get to it. They do have their own SRO, but again, it's one guy for 4 buildings, so it's nice. And again, I'm usually the one who's doing it. I work very closely with the SRO. He appreciates the fact that sometimes I'm on this side of town while he's over there, or I'm over there while he's over here. We used to do all 4 buildings per day before they had the SRO come in.
Oh, is that right?
And now, I don't think it's a better use of my time and the village's time for me just to do one. It's a good way for us to interact with the kids and the population in the school in a positive manner.
All right. Any questions about this?
I have a question.
Yes.
Officer, how do you capture the community service that you do in these numbers for county?
So it's one of those things where I know myself and or the rest of my officers don't particularly like to toot our own horn. These are just ones that were where an incident report was generated. Because often we have our officers doing foot patrols up and down Franklin Avenue that don't necessarily get a report generated for it. But these are just, again, something that we were called for, basically. Like the school checks, I do a report on that because if I do find something going on in the school, I want to document that we let the school know that I found something or nothing was found. It's basically if somebody generates a report on their community policing or their public service, that's how I get those numbers. So these are most likely not even a true reflection of what we actually do in that term.
If you could just try to, impart to your staff that it's not just tooting your own horn. It's actually a public service to let the public know all these things we do. Because I've actually heard from other officers that they're doing more than the public knows.
Right.
So let's figure out a way, because we do get the questions from the public about that, and I know we can give them better answers, or answers that reflect better on our police force if we know those numbers.
Maybe that's something you and I can talk about, trying to find some way, because again, not everything requires a report to be generated, but like you said, it would be much better to be able to give some other numbers of, hey, we do all these other things, but it's not necessarily a police report worth generating.
Yeah, if you just help somebody out and it takes a few minutes or whatever, it's not going to be worthy of a report.
Right.
As opposed to an incident that requires you to go back to the office and fill out a form.
Right.
Put it in the file.
I mean,
And that's the distinction, I guess. How do you actually quantify the first?
Because I know off the top of my head, 2 or 3 times that I've helped people at like the DMV. We have certain people that come to the DMV who can't read. So little things like that I know that I've done and I know that others are doing that I'm not going to put this guy's name in a report and say, Joe Smith couldn't read and I helped him fill out his forms. But it's
Identifying the people,
Well,
I understand that, but it's news to me, for instance. I don't know if it is to everyone else that you do things like that. I think it reflects really well in the department, so let's figure out a way to put some of that information, especially now that we're doing the reporting a little differently. You don't have to read those numbers. It'd be nice if you could instead say some positive things that we're doing besides all the obvious news.
like I said, you and I we'll get together and brainstorm something, whether it's maybe just a notepad in the office or something. I don't know. Again, it's getting everybody to put down on paper the little things that they are doing that, these people are humble for the most part. They don't want, they don't want to say, oh, well, I helped do this or I helped do that. It's just what we do. So we'll have to come up with something that everybody feels comfortable doing.
We'll talk more. Thank you.
All right, good. That's a good follow-up. All right.
An example like that is not captured in the community policing. Then what is like assist citizen?
That's basically what if somebody's calling for information or needed assistance with something, but they've called dispatch and we get sent back for it. So since there was a radio dispatch for it, we generate a report for that. But maybe some of those are some things like that. If, maybe Officer Naughton did a report on it, on his own. Like, when people stop and ask us for directions, that's clearly not in there. But if we get flagged down for something, then it's like a 2-3 minute interaction. We usually just go about our day. If it turns into 10, 15, 20 minutes, something like that, we're having full blown conversations, or an issue arises, like somebody's requesting extra patrol on something, then we would generate the report for it.
If there's a dispatch, I can see that does require a report, I imagine, for the record, right? Okay. Next, the speed report. This is from where this is Franklin. On the
Yeah,
other
so
side of the hill.
this is Franklin Avenue up by the Cardinal Hayes Day School. So we've had a number of complaints up there from the school and citizens over the years of, they feel like traffic is going too fast there by the school. The only place to put this sign in that area was actually on the 30-mile-an-hour sign. So these numbers aren't reflective of speed in a 35-mile-an-hour zone because the zone starts at the sign. So these are speeds coming up to the 30-mile-an-hour.
All right, so this is where they're coming into the village, coming up the hill. It's 45 miles an hour till you get to this sign.
Once you get to the sign, that's where the zone starts. So if we look at this really as a 45-mile-an-hour zone, we're really very compliant with it. But the high risk is 20 over. The speed limit sign was set to 30 because that's the zone they were going to enter, and I wanted to draw attention to that so it would flash at anything over 30. So if this is a 45-mile-an-hour zone, 20 over, according to the sign, would be 50. So we're really right there. That it's not a huge speeding issue there. I believe we've asked the state to reduce the speed limit there by that school, but they have denied it over the years. So this report really was just to show there's not a lot of excessive speed out there. Also, the placement of the sign was just to draw attention to the upcoming 30-mile-an-hour zone.
Yeah, what you can see is the previous place you put it was on the other side of the hill.
Correct.
And so what you saw was a dramatic reduction in the number of high-risk incidents. I think it's probably by an order of 10 people who came to the 30 mile, came over the hill, and then must have braked to get to the
Correct.
in front of the Thorn building.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any questions on that one? This one's more of an informational than an enforcement.
And you just moved the sign where?
Put it on Franklin Avenue at Front Street, right in front of Most. Again, it's one of our trouble spots. I know you guys can see me sitting over by the park often. I mean, today alone, I made 4 stops and wrote 1 ticket.
Okay.
But people are still come flying in there. Even there's 4 speed limit signs before where I sit there at Tribute Gardens, and everybody, they say, "Oh, I didn't know." Well, I sit there for a reason because there's 4 speed limit signs. By the time you pass the 4th one, you should realize, what speed you should be going.
All right.
But that'll give us a good idea of what's coming into the village and how hot they're coming in.
And what times?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Questions about that? Okay.
The only other thing we had was I went over the updates to the code for the parking and traffic code.
Yeah, I want to hold that till we get to that section.
Oh, where's that down? Way down
Down here in old business.
All right.
All right. You can stay, right?
I mean, my kids are at home, so
Can you stay?
yes and no. Yeah, I'd like to get out of here. Get back to them reading on it, but
Maybe half hour?
yeah, fine.
All right, fine. Thanks. Okay, Bob?
Before we move on, just the laptop in the other car, the installation of that.
Oh, yes.
I think we need to have a plan to get that done.
So-
It's been a while.
I meant to speak to that earlier, shortly after Karen had given the report. That it is going to come at an expense that we didn't budget for, but speaking back to the staffing issues we had earlier in the year, there's a lot of wiggle room within my budget.
You can contain it within the entire police budget.
Yes, I can contain it within the entire police budget, and we can fast track that.
Yeah. So what is your plan though? Because last time I talked to you, it was you identified a vendor
Correct.
up north.
Correct. I believe it's in Latham area.
Okay.
So I have to contact them and find out when we can go up. It's going to take 2 of us
Yeah.
an entire day to
And both
drive
cars.
up, and we're just apparently going to have to spend the day in Latham.
Mhm.
So
But it's time well spent to get the brackets in
Correct.
so they can actually load those computers.
Yeah, because we had gone through NetFX and they decided that the project was too big for them. We had gotten a quote from Nycomco or their under company, their lighting and supply, and it was outrageous. It was something like $7,500, $8,000 to get it done. This other company, I think, was closer to $2,000 for each.
I was like half of it.
Yeah, it was like $2,000 for each car, so
Each
about
car, right, about
four.
four. Right. All right, so can you do that this month? That's what I'm asking.
I can get it arranged at the very least, and the rest will be on their
Yeah, okay,
availability.
fine. I think Peter's right. We need to get this done. It's been around for a long time, and I think it's a nice, adder to the police car capability for both cars.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Thanks. Anything else? Okay, Bob.
Yes,
Are the trees gone?
trees are gone.
Okay,
Christmas
good.
is over.
Christmas is all right.
Everything's down. People are still putting a few here and there out, but,
And we pick them up for even residents, right?
oh yeah,
Until when?
until they're not put out anymore.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we just put them out.
All right, great.
Along with that, we've been picking up brush from storms and things. But
Okay.
that ice storm that we had caused a lot of damage, and I think people are still picking up from it.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, we had, just that day, we had 3 trees come down,
All
so
right.
there's quite a bit of debris and stuff out, so we just picked it all up.
All right.
All the trees went to a 10-mile river, the pheasant reserve.
Was that right?
They use them, so they're kind of recycled.
All right.
They use them as cover for the pheasants. So
I saw somebody took down the big tree too.
we did.
Right.
Well, Matty cut it down and we took it away.
Matt cut it down? All right. Who took the lights off?
He did.
Yeah, something happened.
Matt took the lights off too? All right.
Yeah, he wants it back to normal
I know.
as fast as possible.
Yeah, okay, I understand, right.
He's got to get back.
He's
to
antsy the
normal.
entire time it's up there.
So yeah, so he took it down and we took it away.
Oh, you took it away safe place?
No, Hitchcock's actually.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah, they took it there. So the good news is, and not to jinx anything, no snow.
You just jinxed yourself.
Okay, yeah, that's right. The jinx is in.
Nah, that's
Yeah.
it.
All right. Now, tell me about the expenses on the dump trucks. You spent like $9,000 over the past 2-3 months on dump trucks. What's going on?
As I predicted.
Oh, okay. I forgot the prediction part. Okay. Why?
Well, one's 12 years old.
2011. Yeah.
One's
okay.
one's
2015.
One's from 2008. One's 2011 and 2015.
Okay.
And they get the heck beat out of them.
Alright.
And salt,
Yeah,
tires,
it's also not good for them, sure.
I mean, you can't predict it. That's what I
So these are
mentioned.
unpredictable repairs.
Yeah.
Well, you had tires was one month.
Well, the tires are not unpredictable.
Yeah.
They wear. So,
Okay, fine.
these are all safety things, and if you let them go,
I agree.
we can't get stuck in the winter. That's the biggest problem. And part of the problem is getting them in to be fixed. We've got to get them someplace that they're not, oh yeah, we'll drop it off. No, it's got to be done immediately so that we have it back. Because if we don't have it back, we're a truck short.
Yeah, sure, I understand.
It's just like I said, all different
All right. Just stop.
different things. None of it's new chrome bumpers or new wheels or anything.
Okay.
It's pretty much stuff that needs to be done.
All right. I saw what was the check engine light issue. That was over $1,000 thing. Okay.
That was computer. That's all computer
Yeah,
stuff.
I
Anything like that. I mean, we try to fix what we can, but it's beyond our. And the tires for it, the tires for those trucks are $400 or $500 a piece. They're not like car tires. They're a lot of money when you have to replace 6 of them.
All right. We have some freedom in your budgets because we did do the CHIPS reimbursement for the oil and stone of 9 partners and Linden Court in the Lake, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there is in your budget the $9,000 for the repair of the Flagler mine, which Karen just talked about, going to take care of. So your budget's kind of whacked out. highway. So it's hard to focus on the fact that there is this big expense in the repairs and maintenance.
Well, that's still in there, right?
Yeah, it is.
The monument thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just say that, okay.
Yeah, no, I saw that. It's-
All right. Any questions about what Bob reports here as far as activity for the last month, or any questions regarding the expense report for highway and streets?
Just curious, I know you've done an asset management for the equipment that's in the garage. Asked everybody, you were starting a couple of years ago. How long do you predict the 2008 truck is going to be viable?
Well, it's not the 2008 that I'm worried about. It's the 2011, which is now going on
11 years old.
13 years old. And I'm quite frankly going to put in the budget for a new one each year, because that's what's been getting all the repairs. We're dumping a lot of money into that truck, and eventually it's our front line. It's a frontline truck. The 2008 is the leaf truck, so it gets very little use. You know, that truck gets very little use, and what it will probably do, getting a new truck, I would put the leaf box on the 2011, since it won't be getting a lot of use, and then take the 2008 and sell it. Well, unless I can get a lot more money for the 2011, so I'll have to see what we can get. We'll go to that auction place, but one of them will be eliminated.
Yeah, but the problem we got now is there's currently 2 loans for dump trucks, although I think we're paying one off.
Yeah, I
this
think
January,
one.
this month.
Yes, I think
All
it's
right,
the
but it
last
still
payment.
leaves the most recent one with the loan that's for like another 3 years, something like that, 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I have to look at it.
So I want to look carefully at
Yeah, no,
put another truck on, another loan on the truck.
Yeah.
We got a loan on 2 dump trucks. We got the Ted's pickup. We got the
That should be done this year too.
I think Ted's
Sorry?
is
I
done
think
this
this is
year.
last year for that too.
Oh, is that right?
Pretty sure.
Oh, that's nice. Okay, good.
It's 4 years old this year.
All right, good.
No, we're
Yeah,
trying to
the
keep them
loans.
at. We're trying to keep them at 10 years apiece.
Yeah. All right, we'll talk about the
As best we can, but again, that's one of the reasons for a lot of the repairs is because they're just getting.
Yeah, we do use them hard.
Yeah.
Okay.
So hopefully this winter we won't use as much salt. We haven't so far. I mean, we're way under what we used at this point last year.
Yeah.
So even if we have a normal winter the rest of the year, we should be under. And salt went up again. So.
I know. I'm surprised. All right, any questions for Bob?
That was it.
Okay, thanks. Let's go on. Okay, Scott.
All right. On the water side, nothing significant as far as water usage. It's been the same pretty much for the last 3 months. We did have one service line leak on Front Street that was promptly repaired by the building owner. And we read all the water meters, and the bills are probably going to go out hopefully by the end of this week.
Okay. 22 Front Street, is that most? Where's that?
That's on the corner across, right over there, on that corner,
On the
right
corner.
across from here.
Oh, okay.
Julian's.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
So,
All right. Any questions about the water report?
I have one thing I'd like to discuss as far as the water bills.
Go.
I'd like to discuss imposing a non-compliance fee for meters that need to be fixed. We have 30 and have had 30 meters for probably the last year that need some kind of, either needs to be fixed, replaced, or we can't access the remote to read it, so they've been estimated. And on the bill, we put that it needs to be serviced in the contact VRI, and it's right in the middle of the bill, and it's in red. People do not call to get it serviced, so the meters are estimated to the best that we can do. There was a time we were down to like 10 or 12, and it seems to be growing. Sometimes they can be fixed. Some people do call, but we've been stuck at like 30 meters, and some of them are ones that we can't access because there's stuff in front of the remote. We have a couple that have locked gates we can't access. So
You can't access the reader or actually the meter.
the remote, which is outside,
The remote,
in order for
okay,
us to
fine.
read it.
Yeah.
And most of the fixes are probably just a wire repair. Some of them are older meters, so they probably just need to be replaced. But we can't do that unless we access inside the house. They got to call. We got to set up an appointment. So the thought is to institute a non-compliance fee. Other municipalities do this. If the meter gets fixed, let's say we put it on this bill, we have a quarter till we read again. You have 3 months to call and get the meter fixed. Once it's fixed, the fee is taken away, you don't have to pay anything.
I see.
If not, you have to pay the fee, or it'll be
Is
included
the
in
fee
the
an
water bill.
ongoing fee, like every quarter they get that fee? Or?
Yeah, until the meter gets fixed, I would think.
Yeah.
I mean, again, this is your decision,
Uh-huh.
but this is just something I'd like to bring up because it's just something, I keep a list. I go through the meters after they're read and keep track of what meters have issues.
Yeah.
Some businesses I'm able to get into, I'll just go take care of it. But most of them, are homeowners. We still have one meter that's old that has yet to be replaced.
Is that right?
Yeah. So, just something I'd like you to think about.
Yeah, that's a valid concern. Who pays for the cost of replacing the meters? The homeowner?
The village does.
Oh, the village does.
Yeah.
So it's our
It,
expense.
well, let's backtrack. It depends. If it's an older meter, ones that were put in the 90s, let's say, and we're putting in the new ones, if we don't charge for putting the new ones. If it's a new meter and if there's no issue with it and someone wants it replaced, because we've had those, I complained about my high bill.
Yeah,
Then they'll be charged for the meter. If after we test it, it tests out fine.
I see.
99% of the time, it tests out fine. If there's a problem with the meter itself, then the village pays for it.
Okay.
If it's a wiring issue, we just go in and fix it. It's just be part of our regular, maintenance and repair.
And who does it?
budget.
VRI does it? Or
Yeah.
VRI does it.
Yep. So that would come out of the repair.
Okay.
Budget.
We don't have the wherewithal to just go into demand to go in, right? We have to get their approval.
Correct.
Yeah. And what is the charge that you're aware of others, this non-compliance fee?
Like $250.
$250? Sounds like a good thing to me.
Yeah, makes sense.
Any questions or comments about that?
No, I think something to the effect of a registered letter that they have to sign for, or we have to make sure it has actually been delivered. Should probably preclude the charging of the fee, so that if you have something, this could be going to a dead box or an open trash, yet they're still paying the bill. So, I would say that the registered letter would probably be a good step.
Well, do they pay their water? Do they get the water bill in
Yeah.
hand? They just don't.
As far as I don't.
Is it accurate? Are they underpaying because it's malfunctioning?
Well, that we
Well,
won't
they
know
might
till
be, don't know.
we replace it.
If it's an estimated bill, you don't know. But let me ask you this. If I get an estimated bill for a couple quarters, and then you put a new meter in,
Yep.
do you correct all prior
Correct.
estimates? Oh,
Yes.
you do?
Yep.
Okay.
And the problem with that is if it's underestimated, then they'll complain
Yeah, sure.
because they have a big charge.
Yeah, sure. Okay, understand.
And-
Skip?
Yeah,
comment?
just the fee you're talking about, at some point, if they don't pay the fee, I think after a year, can it be added to their taxes?
It would be on the water bill.
I mean, you put a
So-
statement there, this
Oh,
will
yeah,
be
well,
added to
actually,
your
that
taxes.
happens with any
Right.
unpaid water or
And
sewer.
all that is if it's
As long
on
as
the
they're
water
in the
bill.
Well, it'll be a lien on the property.
Correct.
As long as
at
you're
a
in
point
the
time.
village.
Right. Yeah.
Key caveat here.
Well, yeah.
I mean, that should be enough to get their attention.
Yeah. All right, so I'd like to fix this right now, but I guess we should ponder this for a month.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it wouldn't happen until let's see.
The
March
bills
bill.
just went out.
Yeah, the bills just went out. So
Okay.
that's why I talk about it now. You got a little time if you want to discuss
Let me
it.
just let me make mention of the fact that we're thinking about this in the newsletter
Yeah.
for January, and then I'll send it up to the trustees asking for conversation thoughts on it, and we'll bring it to the next board meeting in February to make a motion to get this rectified. All right?
I prefer a softer approach, like Trustee Herzog said, at least initially. If it's some business that's just ignoring it, that's one thing, but if it's, you know, some old lady that, whatever.
Well, the softer
see
approach
it.
is, he said, if they come through and actually get the meter replaced, we would refund the non-compliance fee, right?
But just some notification that, hey,
Well,
like, maybe you
within
might
3
have
months
missed.
to 10. That's how I understood it.
I mean, if the notification's on the water bill though,
I understand.
I mean, it's in red writing.
All right, well, Peter, let's have that part of the
Now,
discussion
that
this
being
month.
said, I have a feeling that a lot of people don't read their water bill. They just look at the charge and say, oh my God, I'm paying.
But it's in red, right?
No, it is, yeah.
Yes, that's interesting.
So,
All right. All right, so we'll propose a non-compliance fee for discussion during the month that we can bring to the next board meeting.
And I think maybe what we can do is also find out what some of the other localities do, how
Okay.
they practice, you know, how they.
yeah.
All right. Well, you probably know because VRI has their laws in other municipalities. So, all right, what you're speaking. If you have any ideas or any other suggestions how we can do this, we're open to your input.
Yeah, I'll discuss that with Dawn and see if we
Okay,
can
good.
come up with a few other ideas.
All right, thanks.
You're welcome.
Sewer.
All right. Sewer, we had, as you can see, the flows increased. I will mention that the flow meter is still inaccurate, so the numbers are higher. Some of that's because of the storm that we had, but I think they're a little higher than they probably should be.
That's a lot higher.
Yeah. Like I said, well, the storm, we did have an excess of water coming in during that storm because it was like, I don't know, 2.5 inches or something. So that did influence it some, but the meter is still inaccurate. In fact, I can tell you that one day last week, it showed it did 72,000, and the next day it was like 200. So, which is not.
So on the average, it's just fine.
Yeah. So I did reach out to Delaware. I believe I copied you on that email about getting that done under this budget. So I got to hear back from them.
Okay.
Other than that, we did complete the annual I&I report, and Delaware submitted that before the end of the year to the DEC.
All right. Any questions about the sewer report? Thanks, Scott. Okay, Sarah.
Okay, Happy New Year, everyone. I don't have a lot to report because there was holidays and I was sick for most of December. I do have a correction on the New York class slide. The total for income earned.
Want to go here?
Yeah, should be 2179.40.
Where are you at?
See where it
Income
says
earned.
577 income earned. It didn't add something, so it actually should be. Yep, that one right there. Should be 2179.40.
Oh, I see. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
All right.
And I'm looking at my chart here, and it looks like we had a maturity date of one of the highway dumps for 23 this month.
Yep.
And then the next one is 24.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
July 24.
Is that
So
So the new dump truck will pay off next year.
yeah,
That's good.
so that's
Well,
really all.
if you look at this, you see that reserves, the income we've earned month, year to date, that's the column here,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about this. So we have all the money for the fire truck reserves in here, so that's something that's just going to go back to the fire truck.
Right.
But as far as what we will accrue for the A fund is right here, right? Year to date.
Correct.
And there's accrual for the water fund, which is minimal because we don't know how much we can put in.
Right.
And this is basically the $1,000 is because we got that $250,000 for the sewer fund to put in
Correct.
from the bond.
Correct.
Well, this is just your summarizing the blank bank balances for the previous chart.
Yep.
Summarizing this chart. Yeah, okay, fine.
Correct, yep.
All right. So class is generating some significant revenue for us. That's after what, 6 weeks? Right? It's almost $3,000. But it's important to know that this is splits of the A fund. We can't put a lot of money in there. That's why the A fund is only about 1,000.
Right. And Karen had to do a transfer today, right? And it was just not even a day, right?
Yeah, it's very liquid. You can do a same, if you need to do a same day transfer, you can do a same day transfer. And
By noon, right?
By noon, or you can do a next day ACH. And if you need to take all of it out, you can take all of it, some of it. So it's very liquid.
All right.
They are anticipating the rates to be good, at least through July and August. So.
All right,
Well,
fine.
I think it's a really good place to have the money right now.
As long as we can.
Yeah.
All right.
We did get the first CHIPS payment for 9 partners, and I am about to submit the second one for North Ave. I'm going to submit that tomorrow.
Oh,
So we
North
should-
Paving. All
Right, so I believe that comes in March. That would come in March.
Very good. What's the total for the chips for this year? Roughly.
Are you talking about those 2 bills?
Yeah,
or?
the bills. 75, I'm gonna guess, and what was the
The-
stone?
The one we just did was 88, like,
Oh, 98, okay.
North Ave's 88, and I want to say it was like maybe 50 something.
Is that all right? Okay, 130. Okay.
Yeah.
What screws up the operating expense report? You know, we show a budget in the expense report for like 80,000, but the idea is that 80,000 revenue, 80,000 expense. Well, when we exceed the usage of chips like we did this year, that additional revenue is offset by additional expenses. All right, so it's a wash. So just so you see that additional revenue doesn't mean there's more than we expected. It's just that we're going to offset that with the expenses associated with it as well.
Correct.
But it did help Bob's budget because instead of having money come out of his road maintenance thing for oil and stone, we took it out of chips. So it's a good use of the money.
Yeah, that worked out well.
Yeah, very good.
And there's that new pothole one, right? Pop?
Yeah, actually, there's
I don't
other
really know
things.
much
There's the
about that one. But
winter something, and there's another one with pothole.
yeah, that one's like, I think the pothole one has, I think we have like 9,000 or
Yeah.
something in that, so.
So all those things we can use as long as it's for 10 years life.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, good. So I just want to make sure we're using all that money first before we actually go and dip into the budget. All right, good. Questions about the bank balances?
I just had one point.
Yep.
Just go back. For the police vehicle fund, we can use that 1,700 for the computer.
Sure.
We had talked
All right,
about.
fine. And I'd like that money to go into the police budget somewhere, just like I'd like the highway equipment, 13,000, to go against the paying of the dump truck.
Okay.
All right.
Mhm.
And everything else is pretty stable. Oh, what about the medical deductible? I thought the HRA account, we needed to add money to it. We got it below, so that was below 10,000?
I think we did.
We did.
We added like 3, didn't we? We added what we had in contingency.
I think it
to
was
that
like-
number.
Yeah, about 3,000.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
All right, so what do we want that to be as a stable, stationary kind of a number? Is it 10,000 okay?
I think we should do like an analysis on it.
Okay,
Because
fine.
I think we kind of fell short on what we anticipated during this.
I thought for the budget, we put money in to make sure we had 20,000 walking into the first of the year. Now, maybe if we've spent 10,000 after half the year, that's okay. I just don't want to be short in that account. Okay, so you look at it and see,
I usually fully fund it, but I know,
no, we can't afford to fully fund it.
well, but I think you do need to see what's coming out of it every year. too.
Yeah, sure.
So maybe we just need to, maybe it needs to be just a little higher than that.
We certainly will refund it come budget time, but the question is between now and then, do we need to do anything?
I'm not sure, we can look at it.
Okay. All right, thanks. Okay, there's the N1 class. Okay, building permit.
All right. So this is for November and December, so that's why the numbers are higher. met with Kristen, and I believe she agreed.
Yeah, she did. So Kristen DiFiore,
Yeah,
who is currently the secretary for the Planning and Zoning Board for the town, has agreed to also pick up the responsibility of being the secretary for the village Planning and Zoning Board, Planning and ZBA. All right, so we made that offer to her, and she's going to accept that job.
Yeah.
In lieu of Regina resigning. All right. Actually, do I need a motion from the board?
yeah, you were gonna do an appointment. Oh,
So any questions about that? I don't know if you know her, but she's actually the court clerk for the town as well. But she was anxious to actually pick up some additional work, and she's highly qualified because she does this job for the town already.
I was gonna say she's highly qualified. So
Right. And she is going to move schedules around maybe to accommodate her schedule with the town and make sure that she can do the villages on alternate nights or whatever.
yeah, we met with Matt, who's the head of the planning
Matt
board,
Anderson, right?
and he seemed to think that would be no issue.
And Ken is there as well.
And Ken, yeah.
All right, so everybody okay with that? So I'll make a motion that we accept the employment of Kristen DiFiore to be the secretary for the Planning and Zoning Board. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you. That fixed as a problem that flew on our radar screen.
And
a
I
few
just
months ago.
wanted to congratulate Kay, who's on our planning
Oh,
board.
good point. That's
She
right.
had her baby on Tuesday, and baby Eden. So they're both doing well.
Oh, good. All right. Good to hear that. Good news. Okay. Anything else with the planning report?
Nope.
Oh, yeah, one thing, as we discussed at the reorg meeting, a need to relook at fees. And so Sarah and I talked to Ken. We've gotten some proposals from other municipalities of what they use for billing fees. And we're going to meet to discuss what we might be able to do to change the fee schedule we have. So let us work on that, put it together, and we'll bring it to the board at some future date, maybe by next month, I don't know or not. What I did see in the information we had from other municipalities that in addition to the application fee, they also charge a CO fee for the final inspection. But we aren't doing that, and I think that's something we should add to our list of fees. So that's one thing we're going to be looking at.
Right.
It was one of the significant things that we saw that we should be adding, I forget what it was. But anyway, looking at other municipalities was insightful for us. And we would bring that to bear for what the village fees are going to be. So we'll work on that and we'll bring it to the board at a future date. All right. Okay, anything else, Sarah?
That's all I have.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so the first item is we wanted to review and update the water and sewer hookup resolution that we had reviewed prior. So let me go to that. Is that accurate?
Yep.
Does the board have a copy of this?
I didn't. I
Okay.
failed to make copies. I'm sorry.
All right, so recall last November, we updated this resolution that dated back to 2013, to 2021. It was 2021-13.
Yeah.
To remove discussions regarding the higher fees. This is in lieu of Bill Bright documenting to us why the lots in the Hurley memo were already pre-approved. All right, and so we agreed to that. Unfortunately, we wanted the memo, this resolution, to reference the memo of Bill Bright's, and the memo that he sent out. First off was the rough draft. We had to go get a final draft to us. And the second thing was the draft, the final version he sent us included on the back page the fee schedule for the higher rates. And I asked him to take that out. And just to clarify, we wanted to change the resolution so that the attachment includes the memo of Bill Bright without that last page. All right. And I wanted to replace, I can't even see it from here myself. I'm going to read it to you. I want to replace these lines that we scratched out here regarding discussions about the higher fees. I'm going to take the higher fee discussion out of the resolution and instead put in a statement that says, and that's what's below the scratch out, the Maple Hill Drive subdivision water and sewer approvals are as defined in the Bill Bright Delaware memo dated 12/22/2022. All right. that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay on that? Now, just because we made that change, right, Skip, we're okay with it as it stands right there? I want to just re-vote with the board today on this updated version of the resolution. So, Sarah, can you take the roll?
Mayor Collocola,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Contino,
Aye.
Trustee Herzog,
Aye.
Trustee Doro,
Aye.
Trustee Murphy.
Okay, good.
I'm running out of room, so we can't.
You need
do
smaller
this
print.
again.
You need smaller print. Okay, I think that puts to bed this resolution with the discussion we've had before. All right? Hey, we're slow, but we eventually get there. Okay. The next item is the introduction of the changes to the code on chapter 220, which we've gone through a detailed review of the vehicle and traffic code. Basically to update a lot of things that are out of date and to include some additional changes to address some things that we thought were deficient. Now, I sent a copy of this to all the trustees, and Officer Witt has put together a table of the physical changes that are associated with the changes we're including in this proposed update. So the idea here is that we have this resolution. We'd like the board to accept the resolution today if they're agreeable to that, which would lead to a public hearing for next month. All right? But Peter, you want to discuss some of the concerns you've got with this?
Yeah, so I expressed to you some concern around, adding stop signs, such as where Washington hits Church. I'm not aware of any particular traffic issues there. I heard from a few people today who sort of felt the same way. It's a very wide area there. I don't see a need for a stop sign at the top there. So to just increase regulations in the village, while the police department is already stretched thin, I don't see the point, absent a real safety issue that I'm not aware of. So that's where my concerns lie. Also, at the end of Russell Knowles, adding a stop sign, I spoke to my fellow residents on Russell Knowles, and it is, as I explained to the mayor, it is a sort of a tough area, but just like with anything else, if drivers are safe, the current signage sort of makes sense. So I'm failing to see the need for a change in the regulatory structure here.
You speak first. I'll wait.
No, I'm going to you because as far as I'm concerned, you're patrolling every day and you have the action reports and you know the background of the area better than anyone else sitting here. So how do you feel about it?
I could get a comprehensive list of what we've had at Washington Avenue, but I can speak to it both personally and professionally. I was a village resident for over 8 years and living almost in that intersection. And I've spoken with the mayor and with Bob about this. When that intersection is redone, when Washington is repaved, it may be in the village's best interest to kind of narrow that intersection because it's so wide. Not drastically, because I know the school buses use that heavily, but because it's so wide, and I know this has happened to me even in the police car. When you're sitting on Washington to make a left on the Church, you have people coming in behind you. It's also it's a high foot traffic area after school with all the kids. To just narrow that intersection and create a stop there, help draw some attention from the drivers to the foot traffic of these kids that aren't paying attention. Additionally, it just slows down the intersection there a little bit because people come up, they take a quick look left and they just barrel through. I know I've had a couple near misses myself, both professionally and personally. I don't think that it's that much of a change to the intersection signage wise and regulation wise, but that's just.
Well, I do want to request that we would, if we're going to put a stop sign there instead of a yield sign, we would wait until we pave the road.
Correct.
So there'll be a time when there's a significant change with the road, and then we can put a stop sign there, if so be agreeable, all right? And I do like the idea of cutting down the sweep for people going up Church that way.
Up Washington.
Yeah.
Church.
Yeah.
And I like the
I
idea.
have a question.
Yes.
Go ahead, sorry.
What about like noise though, and the buses? Like, and I have a triaxle going through there all the time. You know, the trailer on it. That's going to be a harder corner and all that with that. And you're going to have all the air brakes stopping there and starting back up with the buses and exhausts. I mean,
Yeah.
it'll be a noise issue too. You know, I mean, everyone's slowing down, going to a complete stop and getting those big trucks rolling again. The bus is going every day.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to have to listen to that every morning on each corner. But
Okay.
that's just if it's clear and you can go.
I mean, and that's something maybe we have to look at.
I mean, the
just
village
maybe
trucks are
just
right there.
the slight narrowing of that intersection alone would be enough to
Slow people down.
slow people down more than they are now. It may be. I mean, I don't drive trucks. I don't drive buses, so it didn't occur to me in any of our discussions. But maybe like just the slight narrowing of that intersection.
Well, it's also a cell phone stop.
It's a what?
That people stop there and get on their cell phones because it's so wide they think they're out of the traffic.
Oh, is that right?
Oh, we come in and out of there so many times.
Oh, okay,
I mean,
I don't see that.
we see it all the time. There's cars just stop and they're on their cell phone
All right.
because they think they don't want to drive with the cell phone.
Skip?
Why don't you, I mean, just a suggestion, you could take some temporary jersey barriers, do it temporary, see how it works. Without going into a lot of money, re-landscaping, repaving, and everything else. Bob, you got those temporary jersey barriers?
No, we don't.
You can get them easily enough.
Yeah, you can rent.
They're not that big.
You can? I thought we had a big problem trying to get them for the
Well, you can rent them. You just got to pay for them.
restaurants.
I mean, it's like anything else. You got to pay.
But I mean, you could just divide it off with that. You could move it wherever you want to put it. You bite off whatever you want. Patrick said you need a little bit of room. I agree with him. You got to bring.
Yeah.
Swing
It's a hard
swing
right
the
hand
corner
turn to
with a
make.
bus. You know.
Yeah.
So, but you can narrow it down a little bit and try it. If it works, then you finalize the plan later on.
So Patrick, based on your concerns, are you against it?
I mean, I'd roll it around and think about it.
All right, fine. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And I'd like to see, if we're talking about a change in the temporary pattern, I'd like to see it done sometime in the spring so that when we actually pave in the summer and going into the fall, that we have a plan that we feel comfortable with as opposed to.
Yeah, as I said, I'd like to wait to make that change until we actually pave the road. So it's like something's different about
You gotta
that.
try it out. You gotta see.
We don't try it beforehand.
I don't know if we need barriers, but I'm the barrier, but.
You need something tough there to keep.
Yeah, to make sure that they don't.
Make sure
Right.
they don't.
You could put stakes there, but don't mow them down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And what about the stop sign at Russell Mills? So Peter, I think there should be a stop sign there if it's a entrance into a new road. Even though there's never been one for I guess years.
I'm not a vehicle and traffic expert, but I don't think there's been any accidents there. There's about 3 houses there. I don't want to create problems where there isn't one, that's all.
I mean, I know a couple of years ago, when Joe Rochfort was on the board, we ended up putting up extra signage there.
Well, that was the other way for people.
Right, going out of the.
Well, that was a complaint I had because people would cut me off going to Russell Knowles from the firehouse.
Right.
And it was obviously a person who wasn't familiar with the area, may have not even known they were going to Russell Knowles.
Right.
But they went straight across me as I was doing my round. So it wasn't an accident, it was a near accident. And I thought it was sufficient to make some kind of change to the signage.
I mean, just from my point of view, if you've got 2 roads that are intersecting and no clear right of way, I understand what Trustee Doro saying. It's the town highway guys and like 3 people that live up there. But heaven forbid we have an accident from a guest or somebody visiting or some out of towner. at the highway garage that goes through thinking they have the right of way, because when you come down Russell Knowles, it does, it looks like a straight shot. And just, I don't know, for a couple $100 for a sign to possibly save somebody injury or an accident, to me, it makes sense. You've got two roads intersecting with no signage.
And I
Even if we perhaps put a yield sign there, instead, maybe we put that under the yield sign section instead of stop, because then it requires those coming off of Russell Knowles to slow down.
I agree with that. That's what I was telling the mayor. I mean, I already yield there because you sort of have to.
Right, you have to.
You can't, that building there, that real estate building, sort of, it lines the firehouse exit. So I already yield anyway. But
Right now, there's no sign, right?
No.
No
Nothing.
sign.
Right.
Okay.
I there should be something as two roads intersect.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe that's a better.
Well, fine, that's a consideration we have next week
Yeah.
next month at the public hearing. Give you guys some time to think about that. Peter, you also said there were other signs that you were concerned about.
Well, based on Officer Witt's chart here, I don't know if that's accurate. Based on the red line that you said, it seemed to be a lot more stop signs being added, but maybe that's not.
No, that's just a designation of where they already exist. They're existing, but they weren't listed in the code.
Oh, okay, fine. Yeah, I remember we had those problems. Okay, fine.
Which
One thing,
essentially made them
I see Brian
unenforceable.
back there. One thing that's in this proposal is to make Alden a alternate side of the street parking. Which I was told by somebody that it was that way before.
It was both sides. You could park on both sides. When I moved down that street, it was both sides. Honestly, it slowed buses and cars down.
Well, that's the same.
Because they can't get around.
Right.
No,
well,
they
that's,
could get around.
Did they? Is that why?
They did for years. It was both sides parking.
No, for years it was the other way though also, right?
After.
Side. It was alternate side.
After. It was one side. And then they took it all away.
Okay, so you said it used to be both sides allowed, then it was one side.
Yup, and then it was
So
no
alternate.
side.
And there was no. Okay, now we're proposing going to alternate side.
so the residents don't have to move their cars twice a day during the school year.
Well, I understand, and I think that would be very nice. I think it's a great idea. The only caveat you have is the kids now park at the end of the street. What does everybody do when they go to a store? They park as close as they can, so they're going to fill. The students are going to take spots.
Well, there's the existing yellow zones there to begin with, but
That's the only concern I'd have. It's great. Oh, now I can park in front of my house, but now I can't because
the kids are.
the kids are all there. It's a double-edged sword. I think it'd be great to be able to park in front of my own house.
the other consideration for the alternate side was to narrow the street at the end of the school day when people are, in the morning when they're dropping off and people are in a rush, and in the afternoon when people pick up their kids or it's high school kids leaving, to narrow the street down to 2 lanes because it's almost 3 lanes wide, so it's like a racetrack.
It is.
Or it has the potential, or appears to look like one, as we've seen from the sign. There's not a lot.
It technically is a three-lane road.
Right. So
By
the
county's
alternate,
definition.
the alternate side was the additional consideration was to narrow the road to force the traffic to slow down. Yeah.
I think
So-
that would be a great idea.
How are you gonna narrow the road?
By allowing people to park on one side. Right now, there's no parking
Oh, okay.
during those two time periods.
Yeah.
So it's essentially a 3-lane
I see.
open
Okay.
road, and by allowing parking on one side or the other,
It narrows it,
it
yeah.
to 2.
Okay.
So you live there, what do you think, one alternate side would be okay?
Sure. I think.
He'd be the best one to ask.
Yeah, actually, I'd like you to take a look at the document and also talk it around with your neighbors would be good too.
Yeah, it's,
All right.
like I said, when I moved there in '85, from an '85 to mid-'90s, it was both sides of the street parking. And yes, the buses had to go like this,
Mhm.
but even the buses get rolling down the street pretty good. So it kind of slowed things down. You know, it's a shame that the school won't just take their traffic, which was proposed to them when they built the new school.
Yeah, with the new school, I understand.
Supposedly
right.
that new entrance was supposed to take care of
Yeah,
it.
sure.
Alleviate it.
And we gave them proposals and solutions, and they just.
I understand that. All right, so look, so we've heard some of the concerns. What I'd like to propose to the board is that we pass this resolution so we can get to a public hearing next month. Then we can also further discuss these concerns that you got. What about that?
I had just one, I have a
Yes.
couple of other things looking at the chart that are not part of this, but one of the things that have been brought to my attention on is the fact that along wait, I can't come up with the name, but Harts Village Road.
Yep.
Okay, coming down there, because that the corner, not the corner itself, we're at 343, where you make that hairpin turn right in the middle of it.
44.
Yeah, 44.
44, coming up 44, and you
Coming
got
up.
that stone wall there.
The stone
Dead
wall, the
man's corner.
hairpin turn. It's been brought to my attention that there should be a no trucks sign there, because you get a truck coming from 343 towards the village, delivery truck, dump truck, anything like that, and it's impossible for a truck and a car to be able to come through.
Yeah, I've got complaints from residents before about that.
Yeah, and I think that's something.
Actually, the specifics was it was a delivery truck to Morona's, and I went down and talked to the manager of Morona's, and she promised to call the trucking agency to get them to. It was a new driver for some reason.
Yeah, but if we're putting in new signs, that's a place that definitely should have a.
Well, how do you do that? You put that? You can't put it on Harts Village because it's too late. What do you do?
Well, yeah, you would put it out at the 44th end.
Right, so they can't
Just
make
like,
them-
I believe there's one on 9 Partners, isn't there? Something over a certain
If it's on-
length.
Yeah, there is
If
on
it's
both
on
ends.
44, it's not our sign.
No,
But
well,
on 9 partners
on
on
the
both
44th
ends,
end.
we have a weight
Oh,
restriction
well.
on 9 partners.
Right, I would
Oh,
imagine it's
yeah.
roughly the same sign, except for local delivery. I mean, if people have something that has to be delivered to their house, you can't stop that.
Why
No,
can't we put it right there at the corners as they see it as they turn or something?
as they turn in, so that they don't create a
Yeah,
bottom.
They already turned
I mean, there's a
it's
signpost
already
down
on
there
the
with
road,
snow
right?
workers.
Yeah.
That's
So we
an
can't
addition.
erect the sign on 44, we have to put it after they turn?
Yeah, well, once you're on the road, that's when you see the sign. You
Yeah.
don't see it pulling on before.
But
Like,
you can't
So
have
then
it
what do
at,
they
you
do?
can't have it at the corner.
yeah.
So when they're already on the road, what do they do, back out?
Go up
They
Safari
probably just
Drive, go up.
continue.
Just continue, and I don't think there's really much you can do other than,
Well, I know there's one resident on the road that's complained multiple times to me, and we're doing signs, I don't know. how we-
No, it sounds like a good idea, but I'm just trying to understand how we would
How we do
practically
it, right?
How do you do it?
Yeah. You
I mean,
do
you
it.
definitely could put it down on
Other end.
the North Avenue or
Is there
the
a
unnamed road where it enters, where it changes from front to Harts Village.
is there a hidden driveway sign there?
Hidden driveway on Harts Village
Yeah,
Yeah,
as you turn in.
there is a hidden driveway at that,
yeah.
Well,
There
the
used
house
to
in
be,
the corner.
it's still there, but there definitely used to be.
I mean, that's really, I don't know what else you can,
I mean, if you put it,
blind driveway.
drive or something.
if you put it down where your snow ordinance sign is, maybe might not be all the way in. and you
All right, so
might
look,
be
Officer,
able-
once
might be
you-
able to swing it back
Also,
out.
once you actually do your own drive-by, make a call. What you recommend?
Bob and I can go take a look
Why
at
don't you
it.
do that?
But wouldn't you be able to put it just on the other side of the state's right of way on Harts Village? State's right of way is probably 50 or 75 feet to the road.
Yeah, but if it's, well, it depends on how
Then
close
you
you
get on
get.
village property,
Yeah,
right?
it depends on how close you get to the.
Unless they got all the regulations.
We'll go take a look at it.
But
All
like,
right.
all the signs on Franklin Avenue,
Yeah.
they're not ours. They're all,
Well, because it's a state right of
they're
way.
state roads, so
Right.
anything that goes on a
But Harts
state
Village,
road.
you can put it on Harts Village.
Oh, you can put it, yeah, you can
Like
put it on-
Ricky's
on
concern
the
was,
street
well, if you're in
itself.
too far, then the guy's gotta back out.
Right.
I don't think you'd have to come in that far if you just get off their right of way.
All right, so look, Officer Wood, you'll go take a look at that with Bob.
There's a property marker right on the corner of
Yeah.
Harts
Is that right?
Village and concrete marker right there, where the state's property ends.
Right.
All right.
Yeah,
You just go beyond that a little bit with a sign.
Hey, Brian?
It designates the corner of my property right there.
Oh, okay.
Since you started this and brought it up, over on Elm, in front of my daughter's house, there's no parking right there. And when it was instituted, I understood it, but Ted's house, my daughter's house, the next house up, they should be able to park in front of their homes because the buses don't go that way any longer. It was done that way for the buses to swing and everything else. And you don't have that traffic anymore. So
heavier current pickup traffic now than we've ever had.
But those are cars.
Correct. But it also, Elm is narrow. It turns into a one-way road at parent pickup is up.
Well, I understand that, but
you're talking between the two driveways.
Between the two driveways. You should be able to park in the street because you don't have any heavy traffic. You don't have heavy vehicle buses, delivery trucks, things of that nature. It's loud parking all the other times when there's light traffic like that. Just something to consider.
Well, I do know you wanted to put more speed limit signs around Elm, right?
Yeah.
That's on the list.
There's only two on it, but I mean, we can take a look and we can, talk to the school because the buses do only take a left out of there now. So none of the buses are taking a right and going around.
I hope not. Good.
Mike's been trying to alleviate that a little bit by talking to people as they right there.
Yeah.
And he actually asked me if, does it make sense for that sign to still be there, the one that's on the line between my house and Leslie's?
Right.
What, no
And
parking?
I said, yeah. I said, the change to the bus traffic it doesn't really make any difference anymore.
Yeah.
The one end down there by what used to be Dr. Strange's office.
That's right.
From the driveway to the corner. From the
Basically
exit,
from
to the corner.
From the Houstons to the corner.
That's where the problem is, right?
All right, so will you look at that and see if it's something we can accommodate?
Yeah.
Fine.
I don't know how that changes things with the parent pickups and stuff.
Well, were you talking to the schools?
Yeah, because I know they noticed a marked increase in that in the past.
All right.
Basically since COVID.
So
yeah, because they have less buses operating, so all the ride times are longer for the kids. I know I live 2 miles outside the village and my kids are on the bus for an hour.
Okay.
So a lot of these parents are choosing not to do that.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to go back to my proposal that we accept this resolution as is and use next month's public hearing to resolve these issues. Any problem with that from the board? No? Peter?
I mean, I'm not in agreement with a lot of these items, so I don't know how I can support this resolution.
Okay.
10.
And you're not in support because of the things you raised about the...
and other feedback from community members, yeah. And other areas that might need adjustments, on Harts Village or whatever. So I'd rather just do everything once right the first time as opposed to...
You're going to invite the public in on
the next
a resolution, right, that you're going to change. Sounds like significantly there's a chance of changing this. And I agree with Trustee that you want to present something that you're more than likely to adopt.
A finalized version, you're
Yeah.
saying?
I think it's a better way to go. That's one thought sitting here listening to this.
All right, well, good.
The other one is you might be sticking your necks out a little bit, but I know everybody has a feeling, having lived here, grown up here, and we worry about expenses, but it would be prudent to talk to a traffic guy. Just even not a full-blown traffic study. I know those are expensive.
Right.
Believe me, I do. But a conversation with a traffic engineer about some of this might be a good idea for you too. So you're not making decisions about where to put signs and where to narrow roads.
Good idea.
That's not.
Okay.
That shouldn't be on you.
Who is an example of a traffic
That's a cheap
engineer?
insurance policy for the board.
All right. Good suggestion, Josh. Who's an example of an engineer? That
I can get you a name of the ones I've seen at these
Okay,
board
good.
meetings we go to.
That'd be great, Josh. All right with that? Okay. So based on this discussion, we'll table the proposal for the resolution, and we'll make some changes based on whatever insight we pick over the next month. Probably pushes off a couple months because we want to determine what the changes are, get them to the board to review and agree on before we can modify the document as it stands.
No need to rush it.
Yeah, right.
Let's do it right.
All right, fine.
Get it done.
Okay, so we're all together on that? Yep. All right, good discussion. I appreciate it. Took a lot of time, but I think it was worthwhile. Okay. Let's move on. The next one is the sidewalk replacement project. Okay, Trustee Herzog, can you give us an update of what's going on with the sidewalk?
Yeah, at this point, we submitted an application for the next round or phase 2 because as it turns out we've submitted things for phase 1, which is going to be the stretch from down by Front Street up to basically the flower shop, a little beyond that, and it took so long for the process and approval to happen. They're now into the next, into 22-23, and if that goes the way it should go, we could end up having two coincidental projects going on at the same time. So we've got an application for phase 2 in at the moment, and we're taking steps to do the due diligence we have to be able to get that part of the sidewalk area from, not from Front Street, because we've done that already, but from Church Street up to Friendly surveyed, so that can be part of our prep work, and to put into the Department of Transportation as a possibility. So we got that taken care of, and we're going to see, Brian Houston is going to be giving us a proposal on what that's going to cost, so we can work on that, and we can vote on that hopefully in the February meeting.
Actually, he's given us the quote. He sent me an email today, and to complete the survey of the south side of Franklin up to Friendly
Right.
would be $650.
Right.
So I guess I should ask for the board's approval that I can
Yeah, I'd say
give him
make
the
a
go-ahead.
motion to give a go-ahead to do
So I'll make a motion that we accept this proposal from Brian Houston to complete the survey of the south side of Franklin Avenue for the sake of the sidewalk replacement project for $650. Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye? Okay, thank you. So that's approved. I'll notify Brian of that tomorrow. Thanks for that.
Okay. And
Sorry, Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So the award, so the review of the application and the award of the grant for for 22-23 will be happening sometime in the spring, and if that's the case, then we can go through the possible procedures to be able to go ahead and to go into phase 2 if we get grant funding. And we can.
I really want to walk before we can run. So that might come together. We'll discuss it in detail once we get the approval or not.
Right.
But for now, I wanted to just focus on doing phase 1.
Yeah.
Right,
well,
which is the south side of Franklin from Front to Church.
Right.
Okay.
So we're moving on that, and Renia Engineering at this point has put together all the paperwork that they need to. I'm going to be giving them a bid package proposal that they can look at, so they can develop one for that project, and then be able to deliver all of this information to the Department of Transportation for the state of New York, because state DOT has to approve our plans and our site plans and everything else before we can go ahead and send out anything to bid in the first place. So that's kind of the next step. And we'll just have to wait and see how it all progresses. Other municipalities have had quite a time. Milton, the DOT took 11 months to approve, what should have been taken.
Although the mayor
months.
told me it was
That sounds
because
right.
because their engineering group really dropped the ball. All right, so that's why Renia's they met with us this week, and they were aware of the problem that Norton had, and hopefully they're going to make short shrift of that. So short shrift of it.
Yeah, so
Okay.
so we're on track, we're on schedule, we're doing everything we can do to speed up the process, and hopefully that means that we'll be pouring cement for phase 1 in July or August. And we're on track with
2023, right?
2023, and we'll be on track to do that. And we'll see what happens with phase 2 and for that?
So specifically, as I mentioned to Karen, the projected cost for the phase one is about $170,000, right? 170, and the grant is for 100. All right, and so the question is the funding that we're going to need to complete this project. Also, to pay money up front because the county will come back and reimburse us once we've expended the funds. So will we have the wherewithal to have $170,000 of unrestricted fund balance available to fund this project, knowing we're going to get $100,000 back?
No, that we're getting the whole 170,000 back?
No, we're only going to get
We're only getting
100,000 back.
100,000 back.
It's going to cost us an estimated 170,000, but the grant is for only 100.
The grant is for that amount because that's the limitation that you can get for this
That's
type
right.
of project.
They refuse
It's
to
not
fully
a-
fund the project.
It's not
They're gonna
bad financing.
fund part of it.
Those are the
So,
parameters.
what is your time frame for this phase two?
No, just stay with phase one.
Okay, the reason I'm asking is because if you go out to borrow 70,000, I mean, you might want to have a bigger plan to borrow. If you're going to need to borrow part of the 200, I'm just looking ahead to say, you know, if you're going to do closing costs, then do a bond to borrow 70,000. As far as cash flow, if it's in July, we collect taxes in June, so cash flow until the county reimburses us, which I think they're pretty good. They're like within about
Yeah,
a
they're
month.
pretty good.
Yeah, they're supposed to be within 30 days.
Yeah,
In other words,
they-
if you put a receipt in, they'll get you the money back.
They've
within
been pretty
30
good
days
with that,
of
but
tax.
yeah. So cash flow, I don't see a problem that time. Holding it till we get reimbursed. The additional 70,000, I think we need to just kind of look at the budget and look at what we plan for 23-24, and see where you want to take it from.
So we can't use fund balance for this.
You could. We could, at the end of, when we go to do the budget, 23-24, we can allocate assigned fund balance. We can just pull it out of unassigned and just allocate it or assign it to this project, so.
So we could use fund balance, we could get a bond, right? And your concern there is that we'd have to go back again next year.
The bond again.
Yes, as opposed to just doing it all together.
Can we take a ban to do that and then do, because it's got a shorter term to pay back and
We can, but you still have closing costs for a ban. I mean, if it's just the 70, I think we should look at the, at the end of the year, look at our fund balance and maybe just take that from fund balance.
I'd really like to just do phase one first and then go to phase two, but there's a lot of benefits from going to phase two and combine it. I don't want to bite off more than we can chew here.
All right, then let's look at fund balance and see where we're at. And
yeah,
see if we
and
can-
the only reason I would see in going into phase two and combine them is if the county turned around and said, yes, we like your application, here's $125,000. You're not gonna turn down a grant for $120,000 in order to see what happens with your phase.
But
It's just that the timing would be very
But
tight.
you're not gonna know soon enough
No,
for phase two, if you got it.
right.
Yeah, well, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, okay. And by the way, phase two is more expensive. We've requested $150,000. We think the total cost is going to be what? For phase two?
For phase two, the total cost would be approximately almost the same, almost $170,000.
170,000?
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
What is gonna be the big nut to crack is gonna be the other side of the street, the north side.
Yeah, right. That's phase three, and yeah, that's. We'll talk about that when we get there.
Okay.
All right, so that's the status. Any questions about that? What's going on with the sidewalk project?
No question, just if you're looking for a third project.
The third project?
I shouldn't mention, but just a little one, a concrete sidewalk and curb, maybe with the village guys and what have you, we could do a job. On, Bob, you know where I'm talking, maybe on Anson Avenue, from the end of this, there's a void between the sidewalks. Malala property where it's all railroad ties that are all rotted out now.
Yeah, I know what
It would be nice if a curb and sidewalk were put in there at some point in time.
Well, Bob and I already talked about this upcoming budget, you're gonna put some money in for sidewalk replacement.
Yeah, something could be worked out with Bob, and I mean, and do you still do, I mean, years ago, with the village, they would share half the cost with the owner. That was the way it was done, sidewalks,
Really?
especially in the business section. The owners would pay half. Look it up, you'll see it.
Actually, we've decided that based on input from Brian Houston, that the village owns the sidewalks, which is why we
Well,
plow
probably
them.
so, but the shopkeeper or the owner has the use of them there also.
Yeah.
It benefits them, so that's why they actually got half the cost in the old days. I don't know how
Interesting
legal
thought.
it is today to do, everything's changed.
Yeah.
But I'd be glad, if I own the property I'm talking about,
Uh-huh.
I'd be glad to donate whatever, some of the.
Hey, we're always open for donations.
What's
Yeah, I
that?
was gonna say, free money is.
Yeah, you know, and help fix it up.
All right, fine, well, let's go
Gonna need-
through.
Eventually we could talk about it.
Yeah, let's go through the budget process in
Yeah,
March.
not to get involved with what you're doing
Right.
there.
So we can talk about it then.
That's a different,
All right.
kettle
Okay,
of
good.
fish here.
All right, so Mike, anything else about the sidewalks?
That's it.
All right, everyone knows where we are there? Okay, the next item on new business was, I had asked Delaware Engineering to come give us a proposal for the bid spec for the replacement of the pump station in South Millbrook. And I even talked to Blinn yesterday. He said that someone would be here. And as you can see, that we're short of their participation, so I'll follow up with them tomorrow and find out what's going on. Next was I wanted to put a list together of projects that we're focused on for the upcoming year or so. And the first one's a sidewalk replacement. We're going to use the Community Development Block Grant Program. We just talked about phase one. We're going to receive we have received $100,000. It's going to cost about $170,000. Phase two is in the range of like $200,000, I guess, Mike, and we put an application in for the county to give us a partial grant for that as well. That's phase three. That's phase two is again the south side of Franklin from Church to Friendly. And we've actually identified phases 3 and 4. Phase 3 will be the north side of Franklin from Church to Friendly. And phase 4 would be the north side of Franklin from Front to Church. All right.
Yeah, and there's not a whole lot there. I mean, that's
Right.
That's the cheapest and the least impactful.
Conversely, phase 3 is probably going to be the most expensive.
Yes.
Based on the assessment done by Radio. So anyway, that's a 4-phase program we've got to take care of replacing the sidewalks in the business district. And that's going to take us easily through 2024. The next project we've got is what we were just talking about, which is the replacement of the pump station at Bennett College. And we already secured the bond, and we need Delaware to come forward with a bid to bring out to the vendors to get that ball rolling. The third item is the replacement of the fence at the water tower. So I did get T-Mobile to come out and replace the fence around their equipment. That's done, looks very good. But they did not finish the job, which what I requested was they also replaced the fence that's abutting the neighbor's property there. And unfortunately, I've been in discussions with them trying to get them to come out and replace. We had a bid proposal from, I think it was Millbrook Fencing.
Millbrook Fence, yeah.
For $3,000, I think it was $2,850, to replace that fence along the neighbor's property, which is in gross disrepair. We need to really replace that. And I was in discussions with Errol Smith as a contractor for T-Mobile, and just got notified on Monday that the person who was supposedly negotiating with me on has left the company. And her replacement is new, and she's asked for more time to understand what's going on. But her initial take was, what she was told by her engineer is that we're not in the business of replacing that fence. So I'll pursue that discussion. But in parallel, I've asked Bob to get some quotes from fence vendors to do the job. It's basically 88 foot. It's 11 sections of 8-foot fencing to be placed along the border of the neighbor to the right side of the water tower.
Nobody responded.
All right, and Bob's yet to get a response, so we're working on trying to get somebody to respond to that.
Salem Fence, quote.
They did the water plan for
What was that?
Nobody's getting
Sale
back
and
to me.
fence.
I don't
Who?
know.
Sale and fence did the water plant. fence.
Okay. Have you tried that?
Yeah, that's one company that hasn't called back. Adams hasn't called back, and the company that gave us the initial bid now has not called me back.
All right.
Even though I told them we want them to do the job.
Say, Skip.
A1 fencing, you try that, Bob?
I did not, no.
A1's around, they've been around a long time. You don't know.
All right, I'll give them a call too. It's just, they don't call back. That's the problem.
All right, so if I don't get Aerosmith to agree to this, I want to go and fund it with their own money out of the.
All right, thank you.
If I don't get Aerosmith to agree, to this, I want to use money from the Consolidated Trust Fund to pay for this. Any comment on the board?
Considering the amount, no, and considering the circumstances, we definitely have to do this.
Okay. Do you want to talk about that fence?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's the water tower.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's embarrassing. I want that fixed. Okay, so I'll pursue calling the new person at Aerosmith. I don't expect to get resolution there. I want Bob to give some quotes that we can
I'll
then.
make some calls tomorrow.
All right, so hopefully by next month I can bring it to the board a request to approve the funding for the fence repair by the quote that he gets, the best quote that he gets. All right? All right. Next item on my list is the Village Hall. I said last month I wanted to go out and get a quote to replace the downstairs windows on the Village Hall. And I did get one. I actually have a quote form here, I think. Bob and I worked on trying to find people who were interested. There's only one vendor who would respond. He came up with a quote of $26,000 to replace the 7 windows on the lower floor. These are windows that are outsized, but he's going to use Anderson windows as a replacement with good insulation qualities. But it's $26,000 for the 7 windows total. All right, and the other 2 places we got to would not give us a bid. One said they don't do those kind of windows, and one refused to give us a bid. All right, that's the quote. But before we go and decide on
Who is the
that,
contractor?
I'm sorry,
Who is the contractor?
DeSillo
So,
and Sons.
Try Hobson Windows?
Hobson is the one who gave us the quote.
Oh, he gave you the quote?
Yeah, he's the one who came up. Anderson
Right.
Windows, the
Yeah, I mentioned that
26,000.
to you the last meeting, I think we were talking.
Well, let's come back and talk about the Village Hall because, first off, those windows are rotted. I don't know if you've ever seen those from the outside and the inside. It's really poor shape. I would like to be part of a fix-up for the Village Hall in general. Now, we had talked before about doing phase 1 as being the downstairs windows and then replacing the upstairs windows, but I don't know that we need to do the upstairs windows. They need some paint. The windows work. They're nowhere close to the kind of poor quality that the downstairs windows are.
Downstairs much worse.
I don't know why a good quality painting of the upstairs windows wouldn't be sufficient, as opposed to that number there, 26,000, was an old quote we received from Hobson last year to replace the upstairs windows. I don't know why we couldn't avoid that, but then go on to phase 3 and work on replacing and fixing the exterior. Right now there's this, what do you call it, the finish on the outside? Stucco, which is peeling. Surprisingly, it hasn't seemed to increase its delamination. It's been pretty stable. So I have no idea what the cost would be. My question to the board, though, are you interested in us updating the Village Hall and spending what's roughly, I'm going to say, $50,000 towards this expense? Comments from the board?
I think the windows are an absolute must on the lower window. That's a given. And in terms of the exterior walls, if we're going to be there, unless we've got specific plans to go moving someplace else and trying to sell the building, I think we have to take care of it. We may be able to get some funding from other areas in terms of grants if we go through.
Like a big grant?
Either a big grant or else, don't forget we're working through the community smart communities.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and as you go through certain steps, you get funds for what you complete and what you can document.
Mm-hmm.
And I was told that sometime by either the end of 23 or sometime in 24 that we've got a pretty reasonable chance of getting about $20,000 worth of grants from them to do energy saving projects. So you're talking about replacing windows or things of that nature, you might be able to get money from that source as well. So
Do you get any credits for being, it's an old historical building too, built in 1913 as a YMCA.
Yeah.
right.
And that might get you some money also.
For what,
I don't know, I'm just asking you guys, you know more about it than I do, where you can go for the funding, but being it's old and historical, the value of it.
all right, and as far as plans, I'm aware of no plans. Certainly, there's discussions about when the Thorn building gets upgraded, that village offices will be available there. But again, that's for another administration to decide whether, what rent's being charged or whether it's worth the move.
I think you got something good there, but I think with some improvements you could.
Yeah, I would like to improve it, but I guess I'd like to know, is the board interested? Because again, we're talking about a significant amount of money here.
I'd be interested because, what you're gonna end up with is if you don't do anything to that building is gonna be another housing hall.
Mhm.
So, you've gotta take care of the building.
Yeah.
Even if you're gonna resell it as an asset, you can't ignore it, so.
All right, so what I'm saying is that the 26.
That stucco's had cracks in it for years.
Yeah, right, it's been that way for a long time, and it hasn't gotten
time.
worse as far as I can see,
Yeah.
surprisingly.
But you might wanna, you can resurface it with the, a stone type system or something like that won't crack. But
Yeah, I have no idea
That gets in the money.
And roughly, what's the cost of something would that be? I mean, I said 25,000. I have no
Well,
idea.
you could get quotes on that stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
There's people around.
So what I'm suggesting is that we not do phase 2. I would like to do phase 1 just because the windows are in such poor shape. I mean, they're rotted.
Are they going to keep the integrity of the windows that are there now, pretty much?
Yeah. Actually, he's going to replace some verbatim, but some of them he has to do 2 windows with a structure, a form in the middle.
Taking into consideration all the trimming he's got to do on the inside. And
Yeah.
so forth.
Yeah, that's in the quote. All right. He won't do the paint, so we'll have to do the paint later. That's something that's fine. All right. But there are Anderson windows.
They're wood?
And they're wood framed. Yep. Yep. So what do you guys think?
Are they specifically energy saver windows or?
Well, he said they were Energy Star. What was the term he used? Some kind of an energy conservation.
IE or something. They call it.
Yeah. But they're good quality Anderson windows.
7.
How many windows on the bottom floor?
7.
7.
Yeah. So the $26,000 is for the 7 windows.
4,000 a piece.
Yeah, about 3,000 apiece. Yeah.
And they're gonna be custom windows. And
Yeah, they are custom.
It's all custom.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very
they
custom.
have to look like.
That doesn't sound too bad.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So again, is the board interested in this?
Yes. I am.
Are you?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Then then there's the quote. Based on this, then I'll accept the offer. And the idea was I would use money from the HTL account. What is it called?
H&L.
HNL, right? Which is the Consolidated Trust Fund to finance this, because this is not in the budget. Okay with that?
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion that we accept this quote to replace those windows for $26,000. Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you.
And that you use the funds from the H&L.
Yes,
Pardon
that's
me.
right. And we'll use the funds of the HNL. That's right. Okay. And then we'll talk later about phase. We're not going to do phase 2. We'll talk later about phase 3. What it would take. I'll probably come spring. I'll get Bob. We'll go and get some quotes on that. All right. So no commitment there yet. We'll talk later when we've got some money in front of us. And the last thing I have in terms of projects we should work on are finishing the updates to the code. We're doing vehicle and traffic now. Peter, you're working on an Airbnb addition to the zoning code. All right. And then after that, based on reviews we went through the code, what's left are the following. Streets and sidewalks, the code on littering, there's a question regarding requirements for garbage disposal. We should look at that. There's a chapter on skateboards, which we should expand to cover speed, what do you call those?
Electric bikes.
Electric skateboards, electric scooters, and something else. And there's these chapters here, 86, 101, 105, 147. I want Ken McLaughlin to look and see if those are still relevant to be, or if they're still relevant today, or we need to do some updates. I don't know. It's been a long time since they've been touched, and I would just like them to provide some due diligence. And the last item would be zoning, chapter 230, which we'll save for last, because that's a big one. All right, any other suggestions that the trustees have regarding things we should be focused on in terms of long-term improvements for the village? No? Okay, thanks.
You call that number.
All right, let's go through, any public comments? Josh, I need you to stick around because there's a question regarding this easement thing.
Yeah,
Did Ian talk to you about that?
yeah, I looked at the releases, they're fine.
Okay, good. And I circulated an email to the trustees. Can you explain what's being requested there?
So I guess there's an easement, a conservation easement now in effect in favor of the village. Must go way back. There's language in that easement that says if the zoning ever changes, it basically becomes null and void. So apparently since that time, the zoning actually has changed.
Okay.
So it is null. But the DLC, who would like, is working with the new owners on a conservation easement, needs that old easement extinguished.
Okay.
And you have some releases, and they're very standard form. You can sign those. You just need the board to authorize you to do that.
Any questions from the board regarding what's being asked there?
No,
You're not
Everybody
losing out
understands
on anything, and then you're going to get the DLC to put a conservation easement over it too.
All right, so I need to make a motion that gives me authority to sign that release?
Yes.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, good. That's it?
That's all.
I just need to sign it in front of the notary?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I'll do that tomorrow?
Yeah, if you
Sarah?
want to stop in the office, we got somebody.
No, well, she's a notary. She can take care of it.
Okay.
Yeah. Good.
All right.
And that's all I need from you, Josh.
That's it?
That's it.
I can go home and eat
You can
dinner?
go home and eat.
Okay.
Okay, any public comments?
Nice to see everyone.
Yeah, thanks for coming. You're not as good as Ian, but you did all right.
Yeah, I'm second string. Second string.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Contino, anything else you need to discuss tonight?
No.
Okay, Trustee Herzog.
Just that I had a couple of meetings, one with Jillian Matthews from Cornell Cooperative Extension because she's doing a review of current codes, plans, ordinances, and our emergency management plans to take care of issues such as flooding, power outages due to storms, etc. And she's going to have a report for us by March. That will wrap up that resiliency review that the Cooperative Extension had asked us to sign on for in 21, which will be done. And also, I'm currently working with Genevieve Glasson on finding documentation for completed actions that the village has done that coincide with the Climate Smart Communities pledge items. There's 115 pledge items. We've completed a certain amount of them, but of course we have to prove them. So things like you're going to sign the conservation easement, okay? The conservation easement will turn into an open space property that we will then get points for in the Climate Smart Communities because we're now reserving open space for community use, which is going to be a park. But you need to document something that shows that you actually did that. And that applies on numerous things that we have to do the research for.
I'm glad you're on top of this stuff because, anyway, okay, good. Anything else?
That's it.
Trustee Durrell.
I got a call from a resident on Maple about a new Airbnb up there. More of a sort of FYI, no issues at this point. Was wondering if the village had any regulations around it. I said we were working on it. We're concerned about it as well. To keep me in the loop of any problems that might arise.
Good.
So I need to get back to that project. It was a bit of a lull there, so I'm going to refocus on that in the new year.
Well, you said you were working with the town.
Yeah, I'm still waiting to hear from. They had a few focus groups.
Oh, is that right?
They had their own subcommittee working on it, so I'm waiting to hear from them. But I'm also going to continue to look at our own how it would affect the village.
Okay, good.
And I'll start.
If you get complaints, if I hear complaints, I'll let you know, vice versa. All right? Because it's important for us to keep our hand on the pulse of this.
And the other thing, which is somewhat related, there is a town board meeting tomorrow on hospitality, more generally, for the town and the village, stemming from the survey that it did last year. So if village residents, town residents are concerned about a lack of hospitality or any other kind of concerns there, I would urge them to attend the meeting tomorrow, or at least make the town board aware.
Is that at the 6 o'clock
Yeah.
regular scheduled meeting? So it's part of their normal monthly meeting? Okay. All right. I'll be there. Good.
Excuse me for interrupting, but just I was told by a number of residents and contacted also by the developer up in Bigdale that he's giving tours. I know I was invited, a number of people were invited to take tours. And I think that's one of the things that's specifically going to be discussed tomorrow night. So if any of the residents who are watching this are not aware that and they have an opinion on that, then that's a good time to show
Informed
up.
about it. Okay, good.
Good time to show up and express whatever your view is.
Okay, anything else?
That's it.
Trustee Murphy?
What's up?
Okay, good. Welcome.
Survived the first one.
You survived the first one. All right. I think that's it for the agenda. The next meeting will be on Wednesday, the 8th of February. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much for your time. Good to see you, Skip.
Take care, guys. I'm gonna collect conflict forms and guys and pass them down so you guys have them signed.
Pat, you handle off the LoSAP form to Ted?
Yeah, it's okay.
Great, nice job.